So this is a quick demo of a Compose prototype. So what is Compose? Compose is a project that's trying to simplify the web stack in a way that unifies it into a single, coherent, even elegant semantic layer. And in this video, I'm going to show how we bring the paradigm of functional reactive programming from the front end all the way through to the back end. So you'll have a component that contains back end state in the component. So you could think of it like a component that vertically slices all the way through the stack. Like in React, you had HTML, CSS, and JavaScript all co-located. Now you also have server state as well, co-located in the component. Okay, so what is Turbine? So you could see here we have a hello world example from Turbine. So Turbine is a functional reactive JavaScript TypeScript framework, and it's about as functional. When I say functional, you think immutable, pure functional programming like Haskell. So Turbine is about as functional as you can get in JavaScript or TypeScript, as I'm aware, for a UI library. So someone else made it, this group called Funkia, and I'm going to use Turbine in addition to some stuff that I made. You'll see when we go to the back-end stuff. That's the Compose part of what I'm showing you. But until then, it's all just regular old Turbine. All right, so in this video, we're going to make a chat app. First, it's just going to be a local chat app, and then we're going to add some server persistence as well. Make it a real-time chat app. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. We're putting this really stupid hello world text on the element in the DOM with the ID of mount. Pretty straightforward, but for a chat app we should start with a text area. So we need to import all the elements as E from Turbine, and so now we can say e.textArea, save, and voila, we have a text area. That's pretty good, but what we need now is to get out the value of that text area and use it somehow. So in order to do that, we're going to need to turn this into a component called chat app. So why don't we go ahead and make it. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward simplification, but we're going to need to use the component method from Turbine. So this is a component just accepts a function from some parameters that we'll discuss in a second to an output. So again, still no changes. So, but now that we've wrapped it in a component, here's what we're able to do. We're able to use the output of the text area, so text area output, and we're able to return an object of the values we want to be available for use in this component. So one example is the message. So we're going to call, so this is a name I made up. I'm just calling it message. And the value of message is the text area outputs value. Pretty straightforward. And now here's how we get access to it within its component, this on parameter. You can think of on kind of like this .state in React because it allows us to get access to this component's reactive values. So if I want to put it on the screen, here let's go ahead and make this a list so I can show multiple things. I'll put on, I could put it above it. That probably is a better place to go. On.message. All right, so now I can type, oh, there is the message. It's right before it, but I want it to be on its own line, so I'll just wrap it in a div. Great, there we go. So we have it showing up. So just so you know, this is a behavior. And behaviors are this interesting type, behavior, that allow you to kind of get, it's kind of like a variable, but it's explicit about the fact that it changes over time. So this is how functional reactive programming stays functional. Message behavior will never change. Like you can't mutate it arbitrarily. It will just change whenever the value of this text area changes. So if you want to do something like reverse the string that's being shown here, so let's say I type in 123 and we want to say 321. So you can't just reverse this. You have to map over the behavior. So for each new value, what do you want to do? So for each message, we want to split it and reverse it and then join it. And then 1, 2, 3 is reversed. 4, 5, 6. There you go. So hopefully that makes sense. So now what we need to do is we don't actually want the current value of the text box. We want only the values when the enter key is pressed. So now we have to make the enter key available to this component. So here, let's keep this on a new line so we can see what's happening. So we want the submit event. So let's see, text area output dot key down dot filter event. We want to filter such that the event's key equals enter. Why don't I throw in an extra equals there for good measure? Okay, so let me turn this into a proper function with a body so that you can so I can do things above it. So the thing I want to do right now is on.submitEvent.log. So now you'll be able to see what those events look like in the console. So this is happening the way it happened before, but now when I hit the enter key, boop, keyboard event, keyboard event. Okay, so that is working properly. This event happens whenever keyboard events happen. So, but we don't want keyboard events. What we want is to grab out the value in this text box when this keyboard event is happening, and that's called a snapshot. So snapshot is a function available in the sister library of Turbine called hairActive. Let's see, there we go. Okay, so now I want to snapshot. So what do I want to snapshot? So you'll see, there we go. TypeScript gives me the types of this. So first it takes a behavior. So the behavior we care about is the message behavior. And then it takes a stream. And the stream is the submit event. Okay, and now I'll log this new behavior. So now when I type, nothing happens. I hit enter. Ooh, boom. The message in the text box is what is logged. I guess at this point it's probably a good idea to get rid of that garbage so you don't have to see the reverse thing anymore. Okay, so now we have we now have an event of all of the messages that we want to start accumulating, but we haven't accumulated them. They don't go anywhere. They're just logged to the console, and that's it. You refresh the page, everything's gone. Okay, so how do we accumulate them? So there is an accum function in hairActive. Okay, and so let's be guided again by the types of the accum function. So first things first, it takes a function to accumulate. And the type is, it takes the current value and the accumulated value. And we want to take the accumulated and concat it with the current. Then what does it take? It takes an initial value, the empty list, that's fine. And then it takes the source, the stream that we are starting with. Okay, so now we have an accumulation of the messages in a list. But here, let's look closely. The return type is a now type. So what that means is that this behavior is wrapped in a now. And a now means that basically this type needs to know when to start. When to start accumulating. Start last year? No, we want it to start when this component is started. And so that is passed as a parameter to components, and thus you can simply just tell it to start then, and now this type unwraps for you. So now it's just a behavior. So we could say const messages behavior equals this, and then I could plop this message behavior right in. No, I got the formatting wrong. Plop this messages behavior right in there. And we have, I think, if we did it right, a local chat app. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Of course, that's not how we want it to come out, we want each message to be its own div. So again, we're going to map. So now we map all the messages. Now we have to map again. For each message, we want it to be in a div. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Great. So we can write arbitrary messages, and they show up. Now we want it to clear this text area. That isn't right. We can't have it just hold the value it had before. Okay, so where is the text area? Here it is. Okay, so we want to set the value of the text area to the empty string when it's submitted. So on.submit.map to empty string. Now we could, oops, the property of submit is missing. Oh, I called it submit event. There we go. So now 1, 2, 3. Oh, we have a bug. The bug is that we are snapshotting we're snapshotting on the submit event, and on the submit event, we're mapping the thing we're snapshotting to the empty string. So now we're not snapshotting anything because it's being mapped to the empty string. So we just need to delay this by a second. So delay is another import from HairActive. Delay by 0. Okay, the problem with delay by 0 is that delay, hold on a sec, is a now thing, so you have to just start it. We want it to delay starting when the component starts, and now we're back to a normal old chat app that works just fine. Okay, but I refresh the page, all the state is gone. That is not a real-time persistent chat app. So now we need to import some of the stuff that I made with Compose. So this is the good stuff. Okay, so real-time from Firebase. Okay, because under the hood I'm using Firebase, but the Firebase model is very imperative. It's not at all functional, and so I built a functional database kind of thing on top of Firebase. So ignore the fact that I'm using Firebase. All you have to care about is this real-time function. Okay, so how do we want this code to look? Basically, we want it to look a lot like this. We want to accumulate the messages, but we want to do it not on just my local events, new message events, but on global new message events. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is take this and real-timeify it. And so, let's see, real-time, here, what does real-time take? It takes a stream, it takes a name, it takes a value. Okay, it takes a name, I'm going to call it Steve's chat app new messages, okay, new message event, very descriptive name. Okay. Put these on their own lines. And then it needs an initial value. Empty array. Oh no, does it need a... no, I don't think it needs that. Hold on, let me remember. Yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's exactly what it needs. Okay, so now we have a real-time stream, which is great. Why don't I put this back the way it was and see how this looks. So we have 1, 2, 3. That's fine. If I open it up in a new window, I don't have it anymore. But what if I log this real-time event stream? So now I have 1, 2, 3. And I go back to the other one in the console, I also have 1, 2, 3. So now they're connected in a real-time way. So you can't see it here, but they're both logging 2, 3, 4. They're both logging each other's streams. So what I've done here is created a real-time stream from this event. Okay, but now we want to accumulate it. So the function I made is called accumDatabase. And it also first takes a name, so Steve's chat app messages behavior. So why do I have to name these? Basically, the names allow you to refer to them over time. So if you change the type of these values and you want to migrate to a new type, you just change the name and use the old name to grab out the last value of the old name. because these things are trying to be immutable. Okay, so in order to accum for my database, I need to do the same things. First I need a name, then I need a function, then I need an initial value, and then a loading value, if any. Okay, so I think I can just go ahead and delete this. Well, I won't delete it so you have it for reference. I'll just comment it out. So I need the function and I need the initial value. Great. And then I need a loading value. I don't need it, but I'll just pass it explicitly as null. And you'll see why that's important in a second. So messages behavior, voila. Okay, so it doesn't work because we can't map null. So when it's loading, it's null, and you can't map over null here because null is not a list. So messages. So if it exists, map over it. If it doesn't exist, we should just tell people to be patient. We're loading. Okay, so now it says loading. Boop. Then it appears. Oh, that loading should be on its own line. Let's just wrap it in a div. Okay, we're loading, and then we've loaded. So now I could type message 1, and we have message 1. And if I pop this open in a new tab, you will see message 1 is already here. Now over here, I could type message 2, and it shows up in both places. And so you could see how this structurally is similar. But I think the most important part is that you can see that this component is really self-contained in a very cool way. You could take this chat app component and put it wherever you want, and it will behave. So, we could do things like this. You could just put two of them next to each other. And you could write a message here, and it shows up in both places. So this is really, truly a component in the deepest sense of the word, and it works not just at the front-end level, but it works throughout the stack. And if you think about what React did for the stack, well, of course, React didn't totally win. There are a lot of other frameworks that are great, but components won. Components won the front end. And so you could type React component spreadsheet, React component spreadsheet. And look, we'll get a whole bunch of spreadsheets that the community made. And we can just use these spreadsheets. You can type view component spreadsheet, and you'll get a whole bunch of spreadsheets that people have made that you could use. The problem with these components is that they stop at the layer between the front end and the back end. They don't have, they're not, basically, they stop. Like React combined HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which is amazing. Now we can collaborate as a community on components that have logical cohesion, but we can't do that if what we're trying to do crosses the boundary between front end and back end. But this sort of thing allows you to do that, allows you to bring persistent persistent back end things into the front end in a way that respects the functional reactive approach. So that's just a quick taste. I would really appreciate if you have questions or comments about how this prototype works. I'm going to be working on another prototype soon that is similar to the Rails blog demo. If you see Rails demo, Rails. This Ruby on Rails demo where he builds a blogging app, that's what I'm going to be trying to copying next. So, but in the meanwhile, let me know if you have questions or concerns or improvement ideas on this. Thanks so much.